Marley was dead to begin with. Quite a way to start a book, especially a Christmas book, but Charles Dickens had to establish that fact as it is no doubt essential to the plot of the story. Now, A Christmas Carol is not about Marley, but about his business partner, Ebenezer Scrooge, and how this guy actually got a front row ticket to watching his life play out from past to future. Today, we're breaking down the story that is responsible for most of our Christmas traditions. Now, who is Marley, who is Scrooge, and what does this have to do with the carol? Well, in the spirit of Christmas or whatever season this video may find you, I present to you A Christmas Carol written by one of our OG classic authors, Charles Dickens. Meet Ebenezer Scrooge, a down-to-earth businessman. A man's out here saying hamburgs to everything festive. I mean, there's a whole episode of how much of a jerk this guy is, but I'll give you his character in one word. Toxic. Blind men dogs signal their owner to stay clear of this guy. I can imagine they got this secret moose code back 3 times when Scrooge is near. It is Christmas Eve, 7 years after Marley's death. Scrooge is in his office with his clerk Bob Crackit when his overachiever nephew, Fred, bursts in, filled with joy and Christmas spirit. He goes ahead and invites Scrooge to dinner on Christmas Day. Well, Scrooge turns him down rudely and expresses his dislike for the idea of Christmas, while casually throwing in a, "Hey, you're too poor to be happy." Not cool, bro. Anyway, Fred is like, "You won't break my soul." He actually gives him a good comeback and leave while keeping the invite open. Next come in two volunteers asking for aid for the poor and hungry, but Scrooge suggests they go to workhouses or prison, and if they couldn't, they should die to reduce the surplus population. Hey, you see this jerk? Next, obviously a new boy in town come in to sing a carol at the door of his counting house, and Scrooge simply scares him away. At the end of the day, he grudgingly gave Crackit a day off on Christmas Day, with accent on grudgingly. Scrooge goes home, and for a moment he sees Marley's face instead of a knocker. It scares him for a while before he dismisses with his legendary humbug. Folks, that was only the beginning of creepiness. After some strange event, the ghost of Marley comes in through the door, bound up in chains of cash registers and other things he dealt with when he was alive. After a few moments of, "Nah, you ain't Marley," some weird creepy stuff, and okay, I get it, you're Marley, can you leave now? And Marley's like, "Not without spilling the tea." He basically tells Scrooge that he had fought these chains in life and he had been caused to wander around with them. He's like, "Hey man, you had the same weird chains around you 7 years ago, and I hate to break it to you, but you've been forging some more." He then told him he will be visited by 3 ghosts in the subsequent nights that will help him mend his way and be loose from them chains. Scrooge had the audacity to fall asleep after that. He wakes up a few minutes to ghost number one, and sure enough, on the auspicious time, here comes ghost number one. The ghost tells Scrooge it was the ghost of Christmas past. The spirit took Scrooge to his past. Their first stop was when Scrooge was a little boy, left alone in the boarding school for the Christmas holiday. This actually made older Scrooge tear up a bit and recall the little boy he scared away earlier. Quick note, Scrooge feels a lot of remorse when visiting the past, so when he's recalling anyone in the present, he's feeling remorse for being a jerk. Next, they see young Scrooge, a little older, and his little sister Fan comes in this time to take him home for the holidays. Here we learn that Scrooge had a pretty mean father who has softened up now. Seeing his sister's kindness make him recall the only child she had, his nephew Fred, whom he refuses to warm up to. Next, they go to Fezziwig, who Scrooge had been an apprentice for when he was younger. They see the kindness of Fezziwig, and Scrooge admits that he had the power to lift their spirit, which he uses well. You can guess who Scrooge remembers this time. It's good old Bob Crackit, his clerk, in case you forgot. Now the spirit takes Scrooge to a time in his life where he's starting to become a jerk. He's older and with his girlfriend Belle, but it's not all rosy between them. Belle's leaving them because his love and pursuit of money is coming in between his love for her. He's like, "Habibi, don't go," but she leaves anyway. This really opens wound older Scrooge jeans once we open. At this time, he's screaming at the spirit to take him back, but the spirit takes him to one last place. It's the time of Marley's death, and Belle's husband comes in to give Belle the gist of how alone Scrooge was in his office. P.S. She's got like a dozen children now. Scrooge takes law into his own hand at this time and extinguishes the spirit himself. The spirit of Christmas presents. This spirit takes Scrooge to Christmas Day itself. They visit Bob Crackit's home. There they see Bob's happy little poor family and his crippled son, Tiny Tim, a frail little young son of Bob. Scrooge sees the love the family have for this little child and asks the spirit if Tiny Tim would live, and the spirit's like, "Nah, bro." He went ahead and said it would be best to decrease the surplus population. Well, Scrooge feels shame and guilt hearing his word being thrown back at him. The spirit then took him to his nephew Fred home, where he see them having a jolly time. And Scrooge seems to be the subject of ridicule among Fred's wife relative, which is just sad. Hey, what's the spirit are showing Scrooge are shadows of the past, the present, and the future. At the end of the day, the spirits disappear. Now, spirit number three, the creepiest of them all. He spoke nothing all through the trip and just kept pointing with his hands. He took him to the future, and apparently someone had passed away. But no one in the city cared whatsoever for the dead man. Scrooge is confused as who died, and he's kind of convinced that if he saw his future shadow, he would know the person. But he didn't see him. The phantom showed him some robbers who are stolen from the dead without any sympathy. They even mocked the guy for being lonely in dirt. The spirit took him to where the dead guy laid and motioned him to expose the identity. But Scrooge, suspecting he might be the one, begged the phantom to show him any person that felt emotion for the dead. He took him to people that were happy and relieved at the news. Apparently, they owed him money and the guy was brutal. And Scrooge is like, hey, how about we try this again? But show me people that feel sad or grieve. And so the phantom took him to Bob Crackett's house where they were grieving over Tiny's team death. And finally, the ghost took him to the grave of the guy. And to his horror, he saw written on it, Ebenezer Scrooge. Surprise. That hits Scrooge hard because he's ready to change now. He thankfully wakes up back in his room. He's happy, excited. He asks a boy what day it was, and the boy is like, it's Christmas, duh. Scrooge is on cloud nine. He asked the boy to bring the prize turkey and tipped him handsomely. He sees the guy that came for donation and donated a ridiculously large sum. Next, he went to his nephew, surprising them and having a good time with them. The next day, Bob Crackit comes in late and Scrooge is like, I'll teach you a lesson by raising your salary. Scrooge becomes a better person to everyone around him. To Tiny Tim, who did not die, Scrooge became like a second father to him. And that's the end of this classic tale, A Christmas Carol. Please do well to hit the subscribe button and look out for my follow-up episode on the Christmas Carol. Till then, stay merry.